What's going on, my Apple II users? In this video, we're going to be celebrating April 2, which is a brand new hashtag event for the month of April. This is the first year, April 2023, and in my video, I'm going to be showcasing my Apple IIe computer. Sit back, relax, and let's jump right into it. As most of my friends and viewers know, I cut my teeth with computers back in the late 1970s in elementary school with Apple II Plus computers. I've got a link in my description to my Apple II Plus video from a few years back, so check that out if you haven't already seen it. My first owned computer I got in Christmas of 1983, which was a Commodore 64. The Commodore 64 came out in 1982, but I didn't get it until 1983. But I'd been using Apple II Pluses in elementary school, and then later in 1983, my elementary school got two Apple IIe computers. We had the two Pluses and the two IIes. Well, what's really crazy is this machine you're seeing here that I've owned since 2014 is actually one of the two Apple IIe computers I used back in the day. So I'm going to tell you the story of how I got this machine. It's pretty interesting, but just with that in mind, I'm going to have an video index in my description. So if you don't want to hear that story, you can skip past it. But then after that, I'm going to set the computer up, show you the cards and other accessories and things that I have for it, and move on from there. But so let's go ahead and get into that story. So what you're looking at here is one of two Apple IIe computers that I physically used back in 1983. During 5th and 6th grade while I was in elementary school. I acquired this machine back in 2014 when I went back to my old stomping grounds and went to my old elementary school to see if any of my teachers were still there. And one of them still was, and she was my 5th grade teacher. And I asked the people in the office if I could go talk to her, explain that I was a previous student of hers from 30, 40 years prior. And, oh, great, yeah, she'd probably be happy to see you if she even remembers you. And so I go to the classroom. She's there, still short, you know, looks the same except all gray hair at this point, you know, because it'd been 30 plus years. Walked in, she looks over at me and says, "Sean?" And I looked at her, "Yes." And she goes, "Oh my gosh, you're all grown up." So I go and I talk to her and we're catching up on things. And then I asked her, I said, whatever happened to the computers that we used back then? She goes, "Oh, the Apple IIs? Well, you know, Principal so-and-so, when he retired, he took one with him, and the other one, you know, went into storage." And I said, "Oh, wow, how long ago was that?" And, you know, many, many years. She goes, "I have something I want to show you." And I'm like, "What's that?" So we go for a walk, go over to a metal container. She pulls out the big key ring, you know, like you would see like a janitor having back in the day, unlocks the padlock on this big metal container, like a shipping container you would see on a cargo ship. She asked me if I'd open up the doors because, you know, she was short and small and old and big heavy metal doors. I said, fine. Open up the doors, and inside this container is packed with like old desks, film projectors, overhead projectors, just piles of old stuff. Well, buried under some chairs was this Apple IIe computer. It was not as nice as this. It was very dirty and grimy and stuff, but it was there buried under some chairs, and it still had the green screen with the tilt on it. And I said, "Oh man, can I pull that out?" And sure. So I start, you know, trying to dig it out. And as I'm digging it out, a chair from up high comes crashing down, smashes into the green CRT. Boom! Thing blows up. Couldn't believe it, killed the monitor, but I continued on trying to get everything out. I get the machine out, the two disk drives, I'm looking at it, super excited. And then I looked at her and I said, "Is there any way that I could buy this computer?" And she says, "Well, sorry, Sean, you know, we're not allowed to sell this stuff." She goes, "You know, it's going to e-waste and yada, yada, yada." And I said, "Oh, well, man, that's a bummer." I said, "I can't believe that this computer that I used all those years ago is still here." She goes, "Well, She goes, I'm going to go for a walk. And when I come back, if this computer is not here, she goes, I'm just going to close the door and go about my day. I look at her, she looks at me, she winks, turns around and walks away. To me, that was my sign of grab the machine and stick it in the car as quickly as you can. So that's actually what I did. I grabbed the machine, the 2 disk drives, I left the monitor behind because it was, it was blown up. Put them in the car, come back. 5 minutes goes by, she comes walking back up. She looks over to where the computer had been sitting in the container, looked at me, smiled, and says, all right, well, let's lock everything up. Shut the metal doors, lock it up. And that's how I got this Apple IIe computer that I used back in elementary school. Again, it was very dirty and it had some issues, like the light here was burned out, lots of sticker goo and stuff all over it, but I've cleaned it up since then. So there is the story of how I got this machine. Now I'm going to go into a little bit of detail about what's here and hook it up and show you it working. All right, we're now in handheld mode, so I can get you up close and personal with this machine. As you can see here, it has got the white double shot keycaps. This is from, it's an original early first release Apple IIe computer. You'll notice it has the enhanced sticker there. I actually put that there because I've installed the enhanced kit a few years back. Mentioned in the previous clip, the bulb was burned out here. I replaced it, so it's all working. Here's the Apple IIe badge. It's in pretty good shape. This machine is super clean. There's little to no nicks or marks on the thing. I did clean it up really good. But what's so great about this case is the early cases, like the 2 Pluses, were painted. They were not dyed plastic, so they don't yellow. And they also got the Velcro clips. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this up. Here, I'll show you that. So as you can see right here, we got one right here, one right here, and then we've got the ones that are on the bottom of the lid here and here. This one, it's broken off. I'm going to glue that. Not a big deal. Here is the power supply. You can see here, 12/21 of 2020, I replaced the RIFA filter caps in that power supply because they were giving up the magic smoke. There is a stamp here that 1983, I'm looking at it upside down. Let's see here if we can get that. Yeah, you can see that 1983. Pretty cool. So yeah, here's the board. It's got the 80 column card. It's got the floppy card and the upgraded ROMs. I did keep the original ROMs. I'll show you those in a minute. Here is the date code on the board, 05 of 83. And here is the board number there. So yeah, early revision board. And this thing works perfectly. So yeah, there's that. Let me grab some other parts and we'll get this going. As mentioned, I put the enhancement kit inside the IIe a few years ago. And here's the little case where I've put the original chips. Put a nice little label so I'll know what's in the box. Let me pop it open here and I will show you the chips. See if those will come up there. You'll see these are the early chips, Apple chips from back in the day. So if I ever wanted to revert this back, I could, but I'm not going to. So all right, let me grab the disk drives and monitor and we'll test out the machine. Before we fire up my Apple IIe machine for the first time to show you on my channel, I thought you might be interested in seeing my original Apple branded power cord. I'm not sure if this originally came with the machine or not. If you know, let me know down in the comments. But I've had this power cord a long time. And since it's Apple branded, it just makes sense to use it with my Apple IIe. So let me get this plugged in and powered up and we will check out my Apple IIe in action. Let me go ahead and apologize in advance that you can see my tripod in the reflection of my JVC PVM monitor. Doing the best I can here, trying to have the lights down low enough to where you can see everything. So again, sorry about that. This JVC PVM, I got this a few years ago from a friend of mine, Greg. I either did a trade with him or bought it outright. I don't remember. But Greg, if you're watching, thanks again for the deal on this color JVC PVM. I love it, still use it, works great. These disk drives here, these are my disk 2 disk drives. You've already seen these on the channel. I showed these with my Apple II Plus, 2-3 years ago, link in the description to that video. But these are the 2 disk drives that I got with this IIe. So these were drives that I used back in the day, loading Logo and Oregon Trail, etc. So that's pretty cool to still have those original drives. Again, cleaned them up, serviced them, they're working great. They are not currently hooked up. What I've been doing lately is using my Floppy Emu, and I'm showing you that here. I'll put a link in the description to that, to the Floppy Emu. It's an SD card solution. And on the bottom of my case, I've put some rubber feet, some little foam pads to, when I have it sitting up here like so, it doesn't scratch. And I was using my CFFA 3000 in here for a while, but now I'm using the Floppy Emu, just a little bit handier for what I want to do. I am going to bring up Oregon Trail, since we mentioned Oregon Trail. I'm going to show you that on the screen, Oregon Trail. I'm going to go ahead and select it. It's now selected, and I have to reboot the machine so it will see that. And you'll see it loading here in just a minute. Oregon Trail, super awesome, fun game. Still like playing it in 2023. And there's other games that I like to play, but I just wanted to bring this up because everybody knows Oregon Trail. And to show you how awesome this monitor is, let's select Learn About the Trail. So you learn about the trail, tells you all that, but I'm going to go through this pretty quick here. It'll show you the color bars. So you can adjust, your orange, your green, your blue and violet. And as you can see, hopefully it's coming out on the monitor. It's tuned perfect. I have cleaned it up and given it a tune-up. So yeah, it's working really great. And so yeah, this is Oregon Trail on my Apple IIe. Next, I'm going to show you some of the Apple IIe cards that I have for this machine, and then we'll wrap up the video. So while I'm going to show you some of my Apple IIe add-on cards, I have Crossfire up on the Apple IIe. It's a fun game. So first card I want to show you is my original floppy controller card. This was in the machine, so this is the card that you would use with these disk drives right here. And yeah, 1978 copyright on there. So this is the original card. They might have pulled this from one of the 2 pluses and put it in here. I don't remember. But yeah, there's the back of the card. I also have the Super Serial card. Let me show you that right here. Here is the Super Serial card. And here is the connector for it. I use this when I'm doing making discs with ADT Pro. And there's the back of that card. Again, official Apple computer, Super Serial Card 2. I mentioned prior to using the Floppy Emu that I was using a CFFA 3000. Well, I've got that here. This is one of the original cards that was done by Rich Dreher back in the day. This was either a run 1, 2, or 3. I don't remember. I'd have to look at emails, but I've had this for a long time. You can do CompactFlash or USB, but yeah, this is pretty cool. You can now get remakes of this from ReActive Micro. I'll put a link in the description to ReActive Micro. But yeah, there's the, the original there. And since I mentioned ReActive Micro, from them a few years back, I picked up the Mockingboard. This is the sound card that will basically make a IIe have sound like a 2GS. And you can order these from reactivemicro.com. I'll put a link in the description to that as well. There is a spot here for 2 SSI 263AP chips. These are the speech chips. As far as I can tell, there's only about 10-15 games that use those, but you only need one chip, and I've been after one for a while. So if anyone watching has a SSI 263AP they'd like to sell to me for a fair price, or donate, or do a trade or something, let me know. But yeah, here's the back here. It got the ReActive Micro 2020. That must be when I bought this. But yeah, it's very, very cool. So yeah, so that is my Apple IIe. At this time, I'd like to give a quick shout out to my Patreon supporters. See if I can get that to fit in the screen. These are the folks that support me on Patreon, patreon.com/geek with social skills. Be sure to check out the links in my description. I got a link to the Apple II website as well as to the hashtag so you can see other videos of people doing Apple II stuff in the month of April, links to friends of the channel, etc. So with that, thank you for watching. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, thumbs down twice. Thanks again for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we will see you in the next video. Apple II forever.